having participated in a couple summits since. Well, we tried to participate last year in 2020, and the world had other plans. So I'm glad everybody can make it here and into this digital venue here. So it's my honor to introduce Jean Rowe, licensed clinical social worker, oncology social worker, and consultant. I got the honor of meeting her back in 2019 in Austin, and it's been a great ride ever since.
Hey, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you all today. I want to let you know that I also have my own journey with being a co-survivor. It's been a long time ago, but my father passed away from cancer when I was a very young adult. And so I do know what it's like to be in your shoes. And when I think about, and if Happily could go ahead and put up the first slide, that would be great. When I think about what it's like to be in the shoes of a co-survivor, it's this New Yorker cartoon made me laugh out loud earlier in April, because it's not about the dishwasher, it's about control. And there are a lot of jokes in the world about, you know, there's only one right way to do the dishwasher. And when it comes to cancer and the chaos that it can bring, and being a co-survivor, you got to let that stuff go. And that's really hard when you may have had certain roles that you each have had, whether you are a partner, a spouse, a parent, a friend, a child, a sibling. It doesn't matter. You have all had roles and ways of being with each other. And even if you've known each other for a really long time, this is new. Cancer is new. You haven't done this before. Okay, next slide, please. When I think about job descriptions and kind of thinking about how to put co-surviving in that lane, well, seeking candidates who, and there are always like maybe 3 categories for a job description, you know, what's required, what's preferable, and what's optional. So thinking about being a co-survivor in this way, what's required is to be able to be flexible or invite flexibility, being able to switch directions, excuse me, at a pretty quick pace, not taking it personally, being creative with how you're going to delegate. I've been working in the co-survivor lane for 16 years, and so many co-survivors that I've worked with will say things like, I can't express my feelings about how I'm scared or worried or concerned because I'm not the one with cancer, but you're in this together. So once cancer comes in and it's a new unwelcome party crasher or dinner guest, you have to start thinking differently. You have to start thinking about how you're going to manage what you've been told, which is at a very high level of what to expect. And for those of you who have been doing this a little while, you know that that can get chiseled down. They tell survivors at a very high level, this is what you can expect in terms of treatment and side effects, but it comes down to the very individual person to how they're going to do, and that is unpredictable. When my dad was going through treatment years ago, he was in radiation and nothing really tastes good. He said everything had a little bit of a metallic ting to it. And my mother, this was in the early 1980s, my mother was hot on, she was going to start cooking a total macrobiotic diet. And it's good intention. It really is. But my father couldn't stomach it. And she took it personally because she's trying so hard. Or something will sound really good to the survivor food-wise, like, yeah, I really want that milkshake. And you run out and go get it. And by the time you get home, and it's there and you've made this wonderful effort, the survivor feels nauseous and can't really take it. And so it's that ability to be accepting of what is happening now, and now. And that's going to change. That's going to change. Being able to delegate. There are people in your life who have different gifts. Some of them will not be the people that can go to doctor's appointments. And particularly if you're new to this as a co-survivor, please send them some grace and compassion and try not to take that personally, because they just can't. But they might be really good at walking your dog or mowing your lawn or organizing meals. You know, if you need all of those kinds of things taken care of, think about somebody who's really good at organizing. It doesn't matter if you're really good at it yourself. You need to store up your energy and your attention and your time to be with the survivor. And not, because if you try to do everything, you're going to burn up to a crisp. So requirements include delegation. Preferable would be, having a sense of humor, throughout the process, because it's so unpredictable and chaotic, which I'm not trying to instill fear in this. It just is. And I really hope that when we have some discussion, that those of you who are a little bit further down the road being co-survivors will weigh in about that and the normalcy of that. This quote really gets into it. Life's messy. Change is disruptive, even when it's good change. But cancer isn't good change. It's really uninvited change. And even if you happen to be really good at how you manage your relationships and communication, this is going to turn it a little inside out. And that's okay, because you can ask for help. That's another preferable thing in terms of your job requirement, to be able to ask for help. And we're not very good in this country. We have a long history of, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and don't complain and do it yourself. And now's not the time for that. Now is the time for a lot of compassion and acceptance. And the optional, the optional is really, kind of a blank canvas right now. You can fill that in. So it's not a huge list, but the requirements, again, being flexible, inviting flexibility and acceptance. If you're somebody who likes things a certain way, it helps you feel good to be on a certain schedule, please know that that will get disrupted, and it's okay, and it's temporary. It won't stay that way. So, and delegate and show yourself some grace and compassion and others. Be thinking about who's really good at some of those skills that I mentioned. I remember at the summit a few years ago in a co-survivor session, particularly for co-survivors of metastatic survivors, this one gentleman literally was not going to leave the house to run an errand because he was so worried that she might need him. And everybody in the room, not just me, and really the group took care of it, said, you've got to stop that. Get somebody to come over and be with your survivor while you go to the gym, or you just have a break, or go just whatever it is that's going to recharge your batteries. You know better than anyone else what that looks like. So be thinking about that. Make lists. And when you feel like you're not doing enough, make a list of everything you are doing. And I promise you, you will be very surprised at what makes that list, including do not skip on things like I took a nap, because that's part of your restorative, energetic refillment. Okay, I'm going to stop there, Ian, and see what kind of comments and questions we've got.
So at this moment, no new questions. So I apologize I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you have the chat box for the session here, please feel free to drop some questions into that chat box as Felicia has let everybody know. So if you have anything, raise your hand. We can definitely, put that message out there for Jean.
Yeah. Ian, as somebody who's been a co-survivor for a little bit, and you've been a virtual hangout facilitator for us, which is so great, are some of the things that I've been talking
who had some experience with cancer in their personal lives, and they mentioned, definitely make sure that there's some communication in the beginning here, so you guys can understand what's going to happen, and that when I went through it with my wife, we sat down and we talked about how, like, okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to do everything I can to help you, but there's going to be times that I'm going to need to help myself, and so she absolutely accepted that, and I'm really happy that she was able to come to terms with that, and she made time for me and with me to let me go out and do something, like go ride my bike and get some time alone, some get to recharge my batteries that way. So
right. That brings up a good point about, you can use your calendar, make this an appointment, your self-care, which is the next slide. Self-care is a requirement. It's not a preference. It's not optional, because you will burn up to a crust without it. I do think that, like with any job that any of us have ever had, we can read the requirements, we can read what they're asking for, and you can think, well, I can do that. I'm qualified. And that takes time. That takes time. I would be curious to hear, from those of you, the participants who are on the different kinds of co-survivors we have in here, and some of the things that the challenges that you have already faced, and maybe some of your fears, if you're willing to share that, because this is a safe space to be able to do that. Somebody may say something that you didn't even know you needed to hear, and you may say something that somebody else really needs to hear as well. I do think that it's different for, Ian is a spouse. I often, in talking with co-survivors who are parents, it's very different. The paradigm of having, sometimes survivors are so young that they haven't had an opportunity to build up savings, or they don't have enough time built up at their jobs that they are able to take FMLA, and they have to move back home. And sometimes that means all the way across the country back home. And so here's a parent who's put into the position of knowing that their child is an adult, and yet your child is always your child. And so working out that perhaps conflict of respecting the boundaries of where your adult child is, and also knowing when to step in as a parent. So there's a message in the chat from Ruth that says, how do you educate well-meaning friends who say the wrong thing, like she had her operations? Your daughter will be back to normal like before. So Ruth, I'm sorry that happened, first of all. And I think that people say the wrong thing all the time, unfortunately. And when we're able to zoom back out 30,000 feet from the situation, hopefully we can see that people say the wrong thing often, but we hope that they're trying to do it with good intention. For people who are close friends, I think that I would encourage you to gracefully and diplomatically be straight with them. That's not helpful. It's not helpful for me to hear that right now. I appreciate that you're trying to be supportive. We don't know what the future holds, and I hope you're right that and back to normal is sort of it's not the phrase. You know, we're moving forward. We're not moving backward. We're moving forward. And life has been impacted in a permanent way. And sometimes people can't really understand that until and unless they've walked in those shoes. And it's hard when you're being, things are coming your way that simply just are not helpful. So it's fine to say, thank you for your support. That's not helpful for me right now. And, you know, that might be really good information for them. One of a couple of things may happen. They may back off and you may not hear from them. And that's okay. That's about them. That's not about you. However, anybody responds to this is about them. Focusing on what's the most important thing, which is your daughter and her getting to the next place to feel better, is really where your concentration is. And, or, you know, another sort of a couple of ways to respond to people without agreeing with them at all is to say, you've given me a lot to think about. You know, it just moves the conversation on. You don't have to agree with them. But I think that, you know, as David said, it's such a common refrain. People are saying things like that because it helps them feel safe. They're maybe not even conscious that that's what is going on for them. But I think from a societal point of view, that's exactly what's happening. People don't want to feel scared and uncomfortable. So they say things like that, hoping that it's helpful and that at a high level with good intent that your daughter's life will return to or move to a place where she feels like she's moving on with her life. Yeah. But when she's in the thick of it, when you're both in the thick of it, because you're both experiencing this, it's not just the survivor having the experience. Yes, the survivor is the person going through treatment, but as co-survivors, you are all having your own experiences with this, with your survivor having cancer. Yeah. Thank you, Ruth, for putting that out there. I appreciate that. Other comments or other questions or other things that are coming up in your life right now as co-survivors? You know, wanting to make sure that you get some information here in this space. Sounds like Ian takes care of himself by riding his bike. And he may not remember this, but I met him first at Tour de Pink, which is YSC's big bike ride. One of them. One's on the East Coast and one's on the West Coast. And then we started recruiting that crew to come to the summit and got him involved in other ways with the organization. And particularly if you're a male co-survivor, I hope you'll check out the virtual hangout that's happening tonight. There's also a general co-survivor hangout tonight. It's only for half an hour. It's the kind of thing you're like, I don't really know if that's something I really want to do. That's a great way to go check it out and give it a chance.
Hi, my name is Ami and she, her, and I live two and a half hours from my lover, who's in upstate New York, and I'm in Western Mass.
Okay.
She's stage 4. She has survived breast cancer in her 30s and bladder, and now is metastasized, and in the beginning of that. And the distance is tough, you know, like I show up a lot, but I want to show up. I'm trying to figure out, like, I think the medical part will come as I learn it, because she's unfortunately seasoned in it. But trying to figure out, you know, how much I should be doing around that aspect, because that's a lot to hold and understand, is the medical jargon. And she's also a nurse. So again, she has that much more education.
Yeah.
And any advice around, and we're very tight. We're very, we have great communication. She has, all her support is distance, across the US, Midwest.
Yeah.
So it's really challenging, and any insight into long distance support, you know, a lot of balls in the air.
Well, it sounds like a couple of things are going on. It sounds like that you want to be more well-versed in her diagnosis. And I have a couple of answers to that. One is, you know, I would communicate with your lover to find out if her expectation is that you need to be that for her, if that's a role. If you also really just are curious and want to have a better understanding, you can download, if you haven't already, the YSC Metastatic Navigator. It's free. It's on our website. You're welcome to email me if you're not able to find that. And I'm on the YSC website with all of my information, but it's free. And it gives you kind of at a very high level what that's about. And the other thing is, and thanks, Jamie, for putting my email in the chat. The Metastatic Breast Cancer Alliance is another organization that has a lot of great information that YSC is a member of. There are, in terms of how you and your lover see each other, it sounds like you're trying to figure out how to connect more often. And if you're not able to see each other in person, the mixed blessing of Zoom from the pandemic, you know, I know that we're all kind of tired of it, but it is available. And so don't dismiss that when you're not able to see each other in person. It sounds like she has good support for herself. You know, there are other organizations that offer metastatic programming, and including us. We have a metastatic virtual hangout. I'm not sure if she's aware of that, but that's something else that's available on the website. And I would encourage you to, if you're not already on the cosurvivor Facebook group that YSC has, you can join that. It's private. And all manner of cosurvivors are in there, including Ian. And, you know, it just sounds like both of you could use a little bit more connection and support. And I think that asking the hard questions, like, is your concern that your lover wants you to be an expert, maybe in the disease itself and the prognosis and the understanding? Is that something that's coming up for you, or is that something that would help her? And if it's that she really wants you to do that, then, you know, check out some of these things to help you get more educated. But I would also, almost more so than that, encourage you to make sure that you're getting support too. There was another question up here in the chat. So many people think of the outcome of cancer treatment as binary, life or death. So the idea of continuing survivorship or multi-stage treatment is not something they have considered often. I often find myself helping people understand how the process actually works. I would build on that, David, to say, you know, that sort of shakes hands with what has been called the collateral damage of cancer and sort of the long-term aspect of things that, you know, chemotherapy ages the body. And people look fine, you know, in air quotes, look fine, but they're still healing. Your body is always going to be different, and that's okay. But that really speaks to, there's not just one way or another way. And I really appreciate that you help people understand. You know, I hope that if you're not involved in some of the things that I've mentioned, that you will come to those things and help drive some of those conversations, because they're important ones. Yeah.
So I think that's all the time we have for questions. Looks like we're about ready to move on to the next session here. Is there anything else that you need to touch on there, Jean?
I don't think so. Just remember, you know, that thinking outside the box, being willing to change directions pretty quickly, not taking it personally, and taking really good care of yourself are things that I would really encourage you to put in your toolbox and pack away in your heart to remember are really important for you as you continue down this path. And thanks for coming today. And thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Jean. If everything that you presented here today definitely have been great points that have been presented to me, sometimes from other co-survivors and sometimes just from friends and family and even books. So it's always good to, reach back out and remember these things and such. So really appreciate all your insight. And as Jean said, looks like Jamie put the link to our Facebook group. Looks like she also put the link into finding the virtual hangouts. So definitely please run over there and click on the links there and get yourself signed up if you can. Whenever you can make it, we're happy to bring the community together and let ourselves talk about what's going on. So hope to see a few of you there. Looks like our next session is the exhibitor jam. So we've got the, let's see, you just click on the YSC logo at the top left of the event page. That'll return you back to the main stage. So they've got some videos there, and be sure to visit them, check them out, tour the exhibit hall. I'm kind of curious to see what this looks like in a virtual environment. I know that the vendors that we've had before have been great groups and people. So yeah, definitely slide over there, take a look at what they have to offer. And thank you everybody for joining us. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Hope to see some of you on the co-survivor calls tonight. Y'all have a good day.